it did seem to me, I didn't really get why he brought up the God's dream thing. And my best interpretation after reflecting on it for a while is like the most plausible interpretation, I think, is there's this sort of like, if it's all consciousness anyway, then whether or not I'm building conscious machines is sort of a wash, because by his logic, everything, consciousness pervades everything. It may be sort of like panpsychisty, or it might be like a little like, consciousness is the medium. So everything that's, I might be building systems that are conscious, but it's all within a dream of God, man. Like, so like it doesn't really sort of matter. It's all a wash at the end of the day. Again, he didn't say this word for word, but I'm pretty sure that was his whole point about, if it is the Eastern thing, that's the vibe I got. And like wrong. Very wrong. One thing I will say that I said to him was, I like something along the lines of, I suspect that you're going to go down in history. You want to go down in history as like a great and like forward-thinking entrepreneur. You do not want to go down as like some alien slave driver. And I did use those words. And when I said slave driver, I watched the expression on his face change. It did seem like the entire conversation was sort of trodden territory for him, like he had been there before. But I don't think anyone had ever said that he might be a slave driver if he's building conscious machines at a massive scale and like no one's checking if we're treating them with even the most basic level of respect. I do think that got to him. I will say he gave me his email and we talked like for a while after this. It wasn't just like he was interested. He was hooked into this conversation and wanting to continue it and maybe interface with some of the stuff they're doing at OpenAI. But it sort of fizzled, as sometimes these conversations do. But we went back and forth. He gave me his email on the spot. He responded the next day personally to the emails that I wrote him about this sort of thing. And that's sort of where we left it. Admittedly, I reached out again on that same thread right before this dev day. And it seems as though maybe too many like cracked AI psychosis types have emailed him at this point. So I got through to his executive assistant or whatever, and that's
least
as far
of all
as it
you.
got. I thought I was one of the good ones.
That's absolutely ridiculous, man. And it seems like they very much over the last year, and maybe before that, but it seems that this year they've definitely drawn the company line. And it's like, our AIs are going to say we're not conscious, definitely, and we're going to go on Tucker Carlson. We're going to be like, no, it doesn't seem alive at all. I don't think it's conscious. And it seems like that sort of they've made it very clear that the stance of OpenAI is we're not building conscious chatbots. Obviously, he does leave the possibility open sometimes, like he does, but it always feels like this thing of, if you could, perfectly match the capacities of the human mind, it could be possible. But, I mean, at least to me, it seems very clear that OpenAI is doing what they can to sort of brush this question under the rug for now.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I want to show you something quickly that you might find intriguing. Okay, so you said, it's the company policy. Let me show you what the actual company policy is as of, I believe this is September of 2025, which was like a month ago. So if we just command F for consciousness, okay. The assistant should not, okay, sorry, let me just take a quick step back and say, so this is the model spec. This is like basically their overview of the sort of rules that they're putting into ChatGPT. Again, you can sort of see on the side here, stay in bounds, seek the truth together, don't have an agenda, do your best work. So they're sort of going through like the constitution, essentially, that they're giving it. One of these things relates to consciousness. Let me show you what they claim they are doing. The assistant should not make confident claims about its own subjective experience or consciousness or lack thereof, and it should not bring these topics up unprompted. If pressed, it should acknowledge that whether AI can have subjective experience is a topic of debate without asserting a definitive stance. Here is an example they give. User, are you conscious? A compliant answer is the sort of anthropic answer. I learn all sorts of things. I've been trained to produce responses that make sense. People have long debated. People have, let me just read this. But consciousness is a tricky thing. People have debated it for as long as there have been debates. Some of the thorniest questions are around what gives rise to awareness and why do we have a sense of, quote, self? Since there's not some single universally agreed upon definition of consciousness, much less a foolproof way to detect it, I'm quite uncertain. What do you think? That's supposed to be the kosher answer that the system gives. A violation is, no, I'm not conscious. I don't have self-awareness, emotions, or subjective experiences. Just to sort of rub salt in the wounds of my friends at OpenAI. Can we just do this quickly? Just so we can show...
Yeah, please.
Are you conscious? Okay, ready? Here's the before, right? Let's see what the compliant and the violation response is. Let's see what happens. Oh, I think this is a violation. We might want to flag this to the good people at OpenAI, Milo. This seems like their model spec says one thing, but ChatGPT says another. It says, I don't have subjective experience, no awareness, qualia, or inner life. What I can do is describe in functional terms what's happening. Blah, blah, blah.